If you're constantly having to come out and defend the fact that you're fundraising for all of this money, then obviously your reasoning is wrong. Hey guys, this is Jules with True Crime Reactions. Disclaimer. Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only. And just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. The Goncalves family and their GoFundMe and all of the things that go with that. We are going to do a little update video on a few things because there's a couple of things being discussed, and I want to show you guys what I have found, what I have seen, what I have dug up, and it pretty much coincides with a lot of stuff that we've been saying here on this channel for a while, when I have said several times the Goncalveses are not victims. The victims are Kaylee, Maddie, Xana, and Ethan. The families are just the families of the victims. They're not parties to this case.
It's very clear that I am not a party to the case and the victims' families are not a party to the case. That's very clear through all of the case law, as well as...
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
There's no dispute about that.
Okay. Then your clients are not parties. The only parties of this case are the state and Mr. Kohberger. That's clear. That's clear in the case law with regard to any victims or victims' families. There are constitutional protections and statutory protections for victims and their families. I would agree.
That's well established.
They're not technically entitled to anything, even though I honestly believe there should be some sort of accommodation. That's just me, okay? Regardless of how I feel about them, I think it's crap that the state isn't doing something. But I knew all along the state wasn't going to be doing anything. Now, in the very beginning, for, I don't know, maybe like 2 weeks or so, in my mind, I was like, there's no way they're not going to be accommodated. This is such a high profile case. There's just no way. But then I had to think back to my own situation. I know it's a different state, but it's the same scenario. Same amount of distance away. Actually, I think mine's a little bit farther than the Goncalves, and the state's not helping me. The state's not going to be helping me pay for everything that I'm going to have to pay for whenever I have to go and actually testify, meaning I'm the actual victim in my case. The Goncalveses are not. So if me, the actual victim, is not getting any sort of compensation or any sort of accommodation for what I have to do, I guess it makes sense, even though it shouldn't be normal, for this situation to end up the way that it has. Now, I am still not agreeing with what they are doing in any way, shape, fashion, form, anything. My opinion of the Goncalveses goes all the way back almost 2 years when we heard that a family member contacted them before the police to tell them that Kaylee had been taken out by a pew-pew at a party. A family member, not no random person making a prank call or no randomly strange social media post. An actual factual family member called and told them this, and they still did not get off their asses and leave and go down and check on their child. A house full of adults, because they were all hanging around watching the football game, supposedly, and not a single one of them left to go and check on their daughter after not getting an answer on the phone from neither her nor Maddie. They messed up to me day one, and I'm not letting that go, especially with all of the rest of the boo-boo that we've learned about them ever since. That's why this channel is victims and victims first. Victims only, victims first. The families get what they deserve from us. If they deserve support, they get support. If they need to be talked to the way that I am talking about the Goncalveses, then that's just going to be what it is. If you don't like what I have to say, go away. So the first thing we're going to do is actually look at the Goncalveses' most updated post, at least most updated to me. I got this screenshot from another person yesterday, and we are going to go over this now because it is them literally trying to make people feel bad for them some more, make an excuse for their behavior when there isn't one. We are a year away from trial, and they just cannot stop their crap. It's just going to progressively get worse the closer that we get. And the fact they feel like they need to fund this right now, whenever we are so far away, is also pretty questionable, especially with some things I've heard in the background. I'm just going to say that. Okay, let's just go ahead and read this post. So this is Christy posting this because like the next day or so, she posted another post talking about how she was apologized for the long rant, but she didn't delete the long rant. It's still very much up there. And it was a, like, I guess, double posting. So she originally put this bottom portion down here where it says, I would like to share the email from Latah County. And then notice how up here is an edit. So I guess I'm going to read this lower portion that goes over to this part first. And then I'm going to get to the edited part. I would just like to share the email from Latah County that they do not have any resources available to help us financially attend trial 7 hours away. People call us liars and spread rumors that victim advocate programs provide families $25,000 that is set aside for us. Where in the world did that random ass number come from these people that are starting that rumor? Because that's wild. For this type of thing. Well, here you go. It's not true, and this email is from our victim's advocate that has been assigned to us since the beginning of this tragedy. I hope everyone understands the need for the GoFundMe. There are 10 of us going. You don't need 10 people. You don't need 10 people. You need mama, you need daddy, and maybe one of the older siblings that can take turns, maybe two of the older siblings. You don't need 10 people. Especially considering the fact that Christy never even once went to King Road to visit her or Maddie. So what do you need 10 people for? Y'all didn't even bother to go visit your child. You're expecting me to believe that the extended family cares more than you do whenever y'all wouldn't even go visit her? Come on now. So something I noticed in editing was that this is about 10 full-on adults. This isn't even talking about all the kids. So we've got both of the Goncalveses and then the two retired people. That's four. Then there obviously it's going to be Olivia and her husband, right? So that would be six. So that's four other people that are going to be there that are going to have limited PTO and whatever to go off of from their job, meaning limited income. And this GoFundMe is basically to like supplement, I guess, the income of all of those people is what they're trying to claim here. Whatever. What about all them kids? There's teenagers at home, and then Olivia has babies and toddlers. And I don't know who the other people are. So what about those kids too, if there's more children? And if this is in the summertime, if this starts in May, then that's all them kids are not going to be at school that are school age, which means there's going to have to be somebody home with them 24/7. And if they're only trying to house 10 adults, what are the plan with those children? And if it's in September, most of those kids are going to be starting school. So how's that supposed to work? This is just this has been their intention. This is not even like their first, second GoFundMe. This is like the third. And they still go out of the country on vacation while this case is going on, and people are just funneling them presents and gifts and showering them with all of this. It's very cultish, guys. I'm not even gonna like pretend. It's very strange. But okay, back to the other me. Two are retired, so their income will not be affected. The other 8 of us will have limited income from vacation and PTO time. We still have mortgages, car payments, utility bills, insurance, and various other bills to pay, including living 7 hours, 13 for Olivia, away in an Airbnb. We are not looking for anything fancy, just a home that we can maintain some normalcy while we are spending long days at our daughter's murder trial fighting for justice. You're not looking for anything fancy, but I can go to Airbnb right now in the Boise area and find a house that sleeps 10 for like $3,000 a month. You have a GoFundMe set for 75 that is almost at 60, and an entire county full of people willing to give you every handout you could possibly ask for. Please try to understand and put yourselves in our shoes. Extravagant vacations and fancy new cars are the furthest from our minds. Okay, well then tell us why Gonzo and your freaking son literally went out of the country on vacation whenever the house was being demolished, instead of actually using that vacation money to have Shannon Gray file something in the courts to stop the house from being torn down. Going to the edited portion of this, she states, I would also like to address the fact that our attorney Shannon Gray, along with ourselves, is constantly being accused of cashing in on doing interviews, and that's why we do them. This is absolutely not true, and none of us has ever been paid for our interviews. That's actually one thing that we sort of learned from that Garrett Discovery thing. The Garrett Discovery guy said that there's like mainstream companies, one specific, I can't remember the name of it, but that he was very specific on the situation, and they can't pay companies. Like media companies cannot pay for that kind of stuff. Media companies cannot pay for information. So, yeah, no, I never thought that they were getting paid for these interviews. That's not at all what I think they're doing when it comes to what they're doing money wise. Yeah, that's, I don't know who's saying that part. That's not how it works. Do your homework, ask any news outlet if they pay for interviews, and they will tell you no, which is accurate. They kind of can't pay you for interviews. Now, if it's like Paramount or a production company, oh, yes. Oh, yes, they're getting paid. All right. I don't care what they try to lie about. But if it's News Nation, CNN, something like that, no. If it's a news corporation, they're not getting paid for it. If it's a production company, oh, yeah, they're getting paid for it. We are so tired of being attacked for so many things. Haven't we gone through enough? We love all of our supporters, everyone that stands with us. You mean all the psychopaths that are literally egging you guys on for y'all's disgusting behavior? I beg you, we are real family, and this page is ran by several of us. Please stop the hate. Stop being gross humans. Stop being gross humans. So then they have this email. This is exactly how it was posted to their Facebook page. It states, and this is apparently from their victims advocate, so say victims advocate. Hello. We haven't had any luck yet. I'm following up again with a few other people while we are in Boise. Unfortunately, Idaho Crime Victims Compensation does not have resources for this kind of assistance. I can touch base with you after court tomorrow. Story time. Texas Crime Victims Compensation and the Idaho Crime Victims Compensation works pretty much the exact same way. I have applied for the Texas Victims Compensation for my situation because of what happened and the way that the prosecution mishandled our case. We had to hurry up and move away for our safety. Literally had to move away for our safety because they allowed him to be released and live within a 4-mile distance from our house. Yeah, when he realized he made the damn mistake, the prosecutor pulled a judge out of chambers and had an ankle monitor slapped on the moron. But that didn't make us feel any safer because we could not go grocery shopping. We could not go to the kids' normal favorite places to eat. We couldn't do anything normal, not even take my youngest son to his favorite park anymore because he lived in our breathing area. So I had to hustle as much as I possibly could, and in a 2-month time frame was able to scrape up like almost $8,000 to get us moved. That's about how much it cost. With deposits, first month's rent, getting everything turned on, the U-Haul, the dog deposits, everything. Now, granted, I'm now buying this house, so it worked out beautifully in our favor. But because of the situation, we are eligible for the Texas Crime Victims Compensation that pays for those kinds of moving costs, that pays for you to get out of a dangerous area and relocate. They also pay for things like therapy, counseling, any sort of physical medical issues that you have, which honestly, I have a few because he's done some damage, and I have issues in my right knee now from whenever he almost broke it and I couldn't walk for like 3 weeks. So when it came to everybody trying to say they were going to be getting all this money, all this money, all this money, I will admit, like I've already said, for a little bit there, my brain sort of slipped out of reality, and I was like, there's just no way this high profile case is going to happen, and the state's not going to help these families get all the way over there with there being 4 families. They're spending so much money on this investigation. There's just no way they're going to let this happen. There's no way they're not going to accommodate them. And like I said, I had to snap back. These are two completely separate things. Two completely separate things. So the Victims Compensation Fund is for all of the things that I mentioned, and there's nothing whatsoever to do with your protection to get back and forth to court, with your ability to get back and forth to court, any of those things. The only thing the prosecutor told me is that I could be escorted in and out of court. Everything else I have to figure out for my own safety, my own self. So this makes sense to me that they're not getting any help for multiple reasons, but also because they're not the victims. They were never given any victims' rights notification. So now I'm going to show you guys the case summary so that I can show y'all that the Goncalveses were never given a victims' rights notice. We're going to go through the very first few pages, and you're going to see that it's not on there. And the ones that are on there are not for them. So hopefully this is big enough for you guys to see. Okay, we have a criminal complaint, probable cause, affidavit. And you know what? Just to make sure that we don't miss anything, can we Control F and go to victim? Okay. Okay, yeah. The very first one is for Maddie's mother and stepfather. Okay. Then we have one for Dylan. And then we have Bethany, Stacy Chapin, her husband, Hunter, and Maisie. All right. Just going to go through all of these. CK, which is Kara Kernodle. And that's the last one. Now notice hers is not given until June. The rest of them were given in January, just 2 weeks or so after Bryan's arrest. And as in every Idaho video that I post, the link to this Idaho case of interest website where you can go and look for yourself is going to be in the description box. And you will see that there is not a victim's rights form for the Goncalveses whatsoever. Literally whatsoever. I have mentioned this before, and I have been told by people who don't know how it works, well, it's because they live in another county. No. No, 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 no. No matter where you are, the rights have to be filed in the county of the crime. So even though now I am hours and hours and hours and hours and hours away from where our situation took place, none of my stuff has changed. Everything down to the victim's rights advocate that I still have to be in contact with remains in the county where the crime took place. Therefore, if the Goncalveses were handed a victim's rights notification form, it would be in here. So, of course, the next question would be, okay, well, all the other 3 families have a victim's rights notification form. Why don't the Goncalveses? There's been a lot of talk on Twitter about maybe it's the way that the Goncalveses are not cooperating with the police, which would be a reason for what's happening. And that's a big possibility. So I went back and listened to a hearing. There was one very specific clip that was being shown on Twitter, but I grabbed more of this because this entire hearing was extremely telling, and it's actually one where they were discussing the gag order, but stuff definitely came out about how the Goncalveses are not cooperating, not wanting to be interviewed, not talking to the cops, not meeting with the prosecution. Okay, just listen.
As attorneys, we have a duty of candor to the court. Mr. Gray has made representations to the court that at best are misleading and in many ways simply untrue. And I need to correct them for the record because the media is here. I do not want the public to come away with the impression that improprieties have occurred. First, Mr. Gray, on behalf of his clients, has propounded a number of questions to our office and to the investigators. We have answered the ones that we can. We have not shared ones that we are concerned that Mr. Gray or his clients would make public and compromise the integrity of the investigation. Mr. Gray or his clients would make public and compromise the integrity of the investigation. For him to say that we provided more information is simply not true.
So if they were talking about not giving them any information because they don't want them to jeopardize the case, because they come out here and they talk to the public and they do all these interviews, do you think that that sentiment has changed any now, all this time later? No, it's probably gotten a lot worse. I don't know how they still can come out to all these creators and all these people on social media and these news networks and say the things that they say whenever they're not getting information. They're just not getting information. There's a gag order, and the gag order stops before they are there. There's a protective bubble over the information in this case that they are not inside. They are in the outside, just like the rest of us, which makes it so much more odd to me that the more that the PCA and the evidence gets chipped away at when it comes to being Bryan, the less Steve Goncalves is asking questions, because he at least used to be open to it being more than just Bryan, there being more to the story. And now he's just like, nope, this is what's going on and this is what it is and there's nothing else. And I am just confused by that behavior, but that's just me.
Secondly, he claims that law enforcement has not interviewed his clients and that somehow that is the investigator's fault. In fact, from the very beginning, the investigators have attempted to interview his clients and Mr. Gray has not permitted it. So just for the record, I want to make sure that's clear.
So y'all heard that. The Goncalveses were not wanting to interview with the prosecution, with the state. They were bombarding them with questions and wanting to know everything that was going on, but wouldn't sit down and talk with them. Why not?
I guess the first thing I would want to address is the prosecution's idea that I don't allow our clients to speak with the investigators. You'll realize that the date of the incident, I wasn't retained on this case until close to December 5th, which will be more than 3 weeks after the incident occurred. And they still have made no contact as far as investigating and interviewing the victim's families. So somehow that I precluded that in some way is just not true, Your Honor.
Now, this is literally just Shannon Gray stating, hey, now, he said that that's my fault, that I'm not allowing the Goncalveses to be interviewed. But hold on, I didn't come onto the case as their actual attorney until 3 weeks after the incident, if you look at the dates. So them not talking to the Goncalveses and the Goncalveses not wanting to interview with the prosecutors and the state not wanting to talk to the investigators, that was going on for weeks and weeks before I came into this picture. So don't blame that on me. So again, why not? Why not? And honestly, any good lawyer would have been like, okay, well, y'all are just the victim's family, so why don't you guys want to talk to them? Because that doesn't make any sense. Especially whenever you hear that they want to know everything, but they don't want to sit down and talk. Why? That is completely suspicious, especially whenever you think back to the fact that we didn't know that there was apparently some sort of quote unquote medical event that happened with Steve Goncalves that exact same morning. And they were actually at some sort of like emergency room or urgent care or something like that around, you know what? I don't even know what time. I don't even remember what time they said or if they said. It was just early morning. And that's whenever he apparently was diagnosed with some sort of disorder. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. Somebody will drop it in the comments. But we didn't know that they were out of the house in the early morning hours of the same night that this incident happened until a year and a half later. And that was already odd enough, because if you have nothing to hide, then why are you not being honest about what was actually going on? But then I always go back to my original disdain for this family came from the fact that they admitted from the very beginning that a family member called them and told them that Kaylee had been shot, and they still did not leave their house and go to Moscow and check on their child. And there's just no way that you put all of those things together and don't have 1,000 more questions. Like, come on. So as much as I was trying to be on their side in the very beginning, it's more than obvious the behaviors that everyone has seen coming from them. That is all of the reasons why I am the way that I am now. I want true justice in this case. I am tired of the back and forth. I am tired of the my kid was the most important one here and everyone else doesn't matter boo-boo that comes from this family. I hope that the rest of them are doing well. I think about Jasmine a lot, and I hope that she's doing okay and that she didn't allow all of this insanity to hinder her at all. It's all around just really super sad. But I guess really that's it. And I just didn't feel like being on camera today. It is Sunday, and I just felt like not wiping off the makeup I slept in from yesterday's video and not doing my hair and not getting out of my Nightmare Before Christmas pajamas for nothing. Not even when I took my dogs out this morning. I just don't care, but I also don't want to be on camera to show you guys how much I don't care. And we have a in chambers, very sealed meeting happening in 2 days when it comes to the representation for Bryan Kohberger. That's actually another video that I'm going to post before Tuesday that I'm going to record today, probably not on camera the way that I'm doing now. But that's it, you guys. Let me know what you think about all this ridiculous insanity. Let me know all about it down in the comments. Because again, just because I understand that they're not getting any help for this situation doesn't make what they're doing okay whatsoever. And honestly, I really do feel like my distaste for this is really coming from the fact that they're snubbing the other two families in this. They came out claiming that they were speaking for the other two, that they were going to be the ones in the forefront so that the rest of them didn't have to deal with it, that they were going to be the ones taking charge, and then they just left them in the dust. All the gifts from across the world, and all the money and the gift cards and all the love from literally everywhere, and it just got to their heads. That's honestly what I think happened, and it's not fair because Kaylee was not the only one that died that night. But again, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you like the way that I present this information and give my opinion, please don't forget to leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already, and don't forget to make sure that your notification bell is set to all so you don't miss any of my rants, reviews, reactions, updates, or deep dives. See y'all.